start with the one that we can use using the table. So I'll say method number 1. So may use method number 1. So I say so I'll say M1, method number 1. So method number 1 is where you come up with a table. Remember, we are not required to answer this question, calculate the standard deviation. You do not have to use your graph paper to answer this question. Instead, you have to use the Examination Council of Zambia's answer sheet and not the graph paper. This question has not to be answered on a graph paper, but simply on a sheet of the answer sheet from the ECZ questions paper. Answer sheet, rather. So what we do straight away, ladies and gentlemen, is just to come up with a table of values. So the first row, we're going to have X, which is the midpoint. We're going to have the frequency. We're also going to have the midpoint squared. Then we're going to multiply the frequency times the midpoint. Then, of course, we're going to multiply the frequency times the square of the midpoints. So basically, 5 columns are sufficient for computing the standard deviation. So we're going to come up with a table. So just do something like this. Just do something like this. Just do something like this. You see that? It's very easy. It's very simple. So come up with this. So what to do? This is the midpoint X. Like I said, the midpoints are simply these numbers here: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are midpoints. So for example, the first midpoint here in our first row, we have 2. Then what is the frequency? The frequency is 1. Then what is X squared? So you see here that X squared is basically the midpoint squared. Now the midpoint is 2. So I'm going to square the midpoint 2. So when you square 2, we're going to have 4 here. Then now we're going to multiply the midpoint times the frequency, which is 1 times 2, and that will give us 2. Then we're simply going to multiply the frequency times the square of the midpoint. So it will be 1 times 4, and this will give us 4. So this is our first column. Very easy, right? We move on to the second one. As for the second one, we pick the midpoint, which is 3 here. So we're going to write it here. Then what is its frequency? So its frequency is 5. We're going to pick this 5 here. Okay. So we're going to say 3 again is 5. And this is 5 here. Then from there, we're going to square the midpoint 3. So 3 squared, this gives us 9. Then from there, we're going to multiply the midpoint times the frequency. So 5 times 3, that's 15. Then from there, we're also going to multiply the frequency times the midpoint, 5 times 9. And that's going to give us 45. Then from there, we're going to move on to another row, the third one. So the midpoint is 4, and the frequency is 4. Then the square of the midpoint, that will be 16. Then f of fx, we're going to say 4 times 4, that will be 16. Then we're going to say 16 times 4, this is going to give us 15 times 4. This is going to give us 64. So we're going to have 64 here. Then from there we move on to another row. So another row, we're going to have 5. What is its frequency? 6. The x squared, that is 25. The fx, that's 30. The fx squared, that would be 6 times 25. So 6 times 25, this gives us 150. Move on to another one, that would be 6. What is its frequency? That is 10. x squared, that's 36. Fx, that's 300, that would be a 60. Then we're going to multiply 10 times 3 is 36, that should be 360. Then move on to another one. It's very easy, like I said, straight away you find the answer. So what you do, this is 6, then move on to the one with this 7 here. Then the frequency is 16. So I'm going to multiply 16 by 7. So we're going to have 112. Okay, 112. Then fx, that is 16 times 7. 16 times 7, we're going to have 112 again. Okay, so then if you just verify this one, we're going to say 16 by 7. We're going to have 112. Then from there, we want to just verify further. If you say, actually, sorry, we just errored here. So instead of writing 112, we're going to write 49 here because this is x squared, so that's 49. So then from there, we're going to multiply 16 times 49, and we're going to have 784. Then move on to the 81. 8 again is 18, 64. Then fx, that is 18 by 8. We're going to have 144. And from there, we're going to say the frequency 18 times 64, we're going to have 1152. And this is the final here. So now that this is the final, what we do, we're going to add up the frequencies. That will be the summation of frequencies, which you know is 60. Then we're also going to consider the column for the summation of fx squared as well as the summation of fx. So if you add up the summation of fx, we're going to say 2 plus 15 plus 16 plus 30 plus 60 plus 112 plus 144. We are going to find 379, and here, well, the summation of fx squared, we're going to say 4 plus 45 plus 64 plus 150 plus 360 plus 784 and plus 1152. And the answer would be 2559. Therefore, to find the mean, which is x bar, this is the mean, we need to come up with this formula, the summation of fx over the summation of frequencies. So the summation of fx we know is 379 divided by 60. So if you multiply this one divided by 60, the answer you're going to get will be approximately 6.32. So 6.32 is a mean. What about the standard deviation? So for standard deviation, we're going to say the square root of the summation of fx squared divided by the summation of frequencies minus x bar squared. So if you substitute this, we're going to have our SD as follows. The summation of fx squared is 255 divided by 60 minus 6.32 squared. We're going to put this in brackets and find the square root of this. If you do that, we're going to say 2559 divided by 60. What is the answer? 42.65 minus 6.32 squared. Now if you multiply 6.32 times 6.32, we're going to have 42.65 minus 39.94. So then if you find the difference here, and that will be a standard deviation. That's how simple the answer is. So the difference of this, you square root it, and that will be the standard deviation. And that is the answer. Thank you for watching, and please remember to subscribe and like the video. Thank you for watching. and see you in my next